No. Good evening. Good evening. I hope I find you well. In this area, I know Castle County Mead it was a very dull morning, but then it changed slightly around 12 or something like that. The sun started to come out. There was a bit of a wind, and it turned out nice. And I noticed on my barometer it was 12 degrees, which is warm for this time of the year. Because the old saying was January, February, puff and blow, fill the ditches full of snow. So you just mentioned that, but Bishop Joseph Strickland, and light is another word in it, but and he says the challenge for the laity in the 21st century. So he does talk a little bit about that, and it's very good what he has to say about marriage and all the rest of it, and that marriage is between a man and a woman, and be brought up and taught the great value of a Catholic marriage with um, the training and the basic respect for each other, and not kind of sexual pleasure all the time and this type of thing. Uh, if you're practicing your Catholic faith if you're practicing your marriage and have that, that happens as a natural course of a marriage. But it's for to all going well that they can have some children, and with the way that they're practicing their faith, then the children will be brought up in the Catholic faith, and they're the bedrock of society by and large, is what he says too. But he says a lot of other things about it that the culture promotes gratification, and hence a lot of marriages are not founded on that principle. It's just founded on the culture, and they don't last. And children are the losers. They have no father when the divorce happens, and in some cases they're often reared by their grandparents. He doesn't say that there, but that's a fact. And the culture has people more or less destroyed. And unfortunately, he mentions Pope Paul VI when he Humanite Vitae about contraception, and it shouldn't be used. And the bishops and various ones in the United States objected, and so they contradicted it. But I think they could have, instead of doing that type of thing, just suggested that if you want to have a marriage, it's in the Catholic Church, in Catholic marriage. That's the best way to have it. But all this confusion then stepped in. Now, Pope Paul VI coming out with that, he presided over this Vatican II. And sometimes I think that to try and undo the harm he did to come out with that. Now, that may not be the case at all, because he might have seen the way the trend was going and come out with that. But it it wasn't accepted by a lot of priests and bishops and all the rest of it. So, with the result that marriage has become very fractured in society and the media. So, in those situations, there's no joy. There's none of the peace that comes with a marriage founded on proper principles with respect for each other and abstaining and not having casual sex here, there, and yonder. Just doing it that way. Now, the culture promotes something else, and sometimes people fall that way. There's nobody immune, even in this country, and you have a sort of an urge to when you're young, what they call rising sap. But there is a right way and a wrong way, isn't there? And some when in some marriages, the one might be a Protestant Catholic, the other might be, and that's even worse because it causes it causes difficulties. It's not successful. You want to have two people coming singing from the same hymn sheet. In other words, they're united in what they're at, and that's the best way. And sometimes, you're often you meet good potential wives, but somehow or other you often go down the wrong road, don't you? So there is a right when he was a priest in the same cathedral that he's now bishop in, he was promoted the thing, but he wasn't doing it. People he didn't emphasise that. But as he kind of experienced the various things of broken marriages and the dreadful result of that on society, fractured, and it makes sense, doesn't it? A family that stays together and prays together is a very happy family with joy. There's a lovely woman, Donna Maria Cooper Oil, that does a little family thing for wives at home. And she's very good at giving some advice for ladies that are at home and how to bring up the children to sort of be be trained and be an example because children are learning and they see what way adults are behaving. So you've got to be careful in that area because there's nothing worse for a child to see a mother and father arguing. It lowers trust, and that's a very important ingredient, isn't it, in anything? Trust. And if it's fractured, it can have consequences. So the bishop then, when he become bishop, gradually come around to, promoting the concept and the couples that are in this diocese that come because they'd be, trained and told what it is and question if they have any questions or this, that, or the other. It's a two-way process. It's not just preaching at one. It's two-way. You're listening, and that's what Bishop Strickland. He's come around to it, and he deplores the casual way other bishops and all the rest will do it. When you read the Catechism, it's very clear about these things, and people that have same-sex attractions and all the rest of it. Um, that can be a difficulty for them. But the idea that marriage and all the rest of it is, which is now impossible for them, it's not a relationship founded on the principle of a man and a woman, and so it's a difficult situation. There, if they people people are obliged to live a chaste life, whether they're whatever way they are, men and women, until such time as the couple gets married. It would say the man and woman. But I think the other muddies the water and there's confusion and this, that, and the other. And a lot of old marches for supporting that type of thing. And at the end of the day, you've got to try and do what's right as a Catholic. Tolerance is not the right way to go for to tolerate what's sinful. You've got to tell the truth. And Bishop Strickland that's his motto there, and he kind of deplores other clerical bishops and so on and so forth to go softly on this. And even in the priesthood, he was taught, don't keep people happy or whatever it is. and it's a recipe for disaster. You've got to tell the truth, and then people know the right road to go, because at the end of the day, it's their time in this earth is short, relatively speaking, to eternity. So the best way to do it is to kind of prepare and do what's right. And the Ten Commandments is the basis, and the catechism, and that stage of things, There's a big catechism, and then there's a penny catechism, and there's enough really in that for to do most people. Now we didn't say that and that, but these are the ground, these are the guideposts to a happy, joyful marriage, and they are joyful. Those ones that are like that, they're just a beacon, and he reckons that that will save. It will become more widespread because people know when they're whatever they're doing is not giving them any satisfaction. It's it's very bad. It's very bad for family life. You got to respect each other. So more or less he says that, but he goes on because this is the United States, and people have all sorts of things coming at them. And Mother Angelica on EWTN now, she's gone to her maker, but probably up in heaven looking down. And because she was very good, and she's founded the EWTN, the Eternal Word Truth Network, and she still speaks on a Wednesday between 8 and 9, and on a Sunday at 7 to 8 p.m. And she's very good. But then sometimes she takes phone calls, and really some of the people, the questions they have to ask is kind of, it sounds to me as if they're astray, most of them. And maybe not. Some of them are struggling with whatever it is. But I don't find that helpful. I like to hear the word and not all this questions. But she does that for a purpose, I presume, because after all, it's in Alabama, and there was an Irish-born bishop there in Birmingham, Alabama. It must be Birmingham after the south place in England. I don't know. It's peculiar that in Alabama that's called that. Anyway, she says, and she's good at what she speaks the truth. And the liberals and all this often criticise her and all the rest of it, but she sticks to her guns, and people want the truth, and she's done great work. And now her videos, her live classic, is good. What she had to say is still relevant today. The same as some of the saints that died years ago are still relevant. So that's Bishop Joseph, and so he's a great bishop, and long may he prosper, and long may he continue to preach the word. I know the Vatican has interfered with good bishops and good cardinals. We know about that, and Bishop Strickland still has a great role in life. I hope his views and his travels in the United States, where he's from and where he can do so much good, but that he goes to other countries, including this country. He's been invited by the Catholic Voice magazine, and we've had Cardinal Raymond Burke celebrate Mass in the Latin Rite in the Sovereign King Church in Limerick, which is run by priests that are on that, and they celebrate Mass in the universal language of Latin, and its churches are packed. And Cardinal Raymond Burke there, when the Catholic Voice had a conference in Limerick, he was the main speaker in it, and there was other ones spoke very well. But he was always very inspiring, and then he celebrated Mass on Sunday in the Church of the Sovereign King. There was celebrate Mass in Latin, and people receive Holy Communion kneeling at the altar on the tongue. You don't put out your hand. That wouldn't be acceptable at all. So it's great to have that, and they had to improve the church gradually, and it was beginning to look so beautiful. So that's Bishop Strickland is going down that road as well. More power to his elbow. They're very lucky in Tyler in East Texas to have that bishop. They'll be saving their immortal souls up there the narrow road. Not the wide one, at least, perdition. Bye now, and I'll be doing me hymns after this, and let's talk after that. Talk the hind legs off an ass. Bye now.